Hi there, smart driver. Road rage. How to avoid it, tips and strategies to put in place to keep yourself safe, not only if it happens, but tips and strategies to prevent that. Stick around, that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about road rage, we're talking about how to keep yourself safe, how to prevent road rage, actually putting in place best practices for defensive driving, your 2 to 3 second following distance, stopping back one vehicle length from other traffic, shoulder checking, ABS, always be scanning, mapping intersections, tracking road users. More than 40% of crashes happen at intersections, and this is the place where you're most likely to encounter vulnerable road users. And as I said, most of my road rage incidents are not when I'm driving a car, but they're when I am a pedestrian or when I am on a bicycle. My rage meter goes from 0 to 100 in no time at all. So if you're going to encounter a road rage incident, the probability is that it is going to be most likely at an intersection. So exactly what Tommy said there, stay in your car if there is a road rage incident, if you get pulled over and those types of things, and don't have any input. That way, you're going to significantly reduce your chances of being injured or having the other person using a weapon and you getting injured. And you definitely don't want to do those types of things because it's dangerous, right? It can ramp up from a minor case of road rage, and you don't want that to happen when you're out on the roadway. Social driving, hurry up and get there. You are in my way. This is what other people are thinking, and I have, people have come back to me over the years and said, driving in my city is crazy. Los Angeles, California. You don't want to drive here. Everybody's arrogant. Everybody's rude. Nobody will let you in when you're merging, and it's a battlefield. You talk to people and where they live in Chicago, Illinois, they live in Atlanta, Georgia, New York City, they live in Los Angeles, Dallas, Texas. It's a battlefield. And this is the way that people see driving, as a battlefield. But it's me first, right? There's very few drivers that wouldn't agree with the statement, I am a good driver. Peer pressure in driving is real. Okay, hurry up and go and ask any new driver that's learning to drive and getting a driver's license. They feel the pressure of other drivers and road users on the roadway that you're in my way and you need to hurry up and go. And anybody learn how to drive a manual transmission, then you will know for certain that the peer pressure and the psychological pressure of hurrying up and going on the roadway is palpable. It is so real. Part of learning to drive is learning to ignore what other drivers are doing and focus on what you're doing. I would say that this is the biggest challenge for new and inexperienced drivers. Those new drivers in the first year of driving, ignoring what other people are doing and focusing on what you're going to do. And the other place that you're going to get into trouble and get into road rage incidents is left-hand turns. And Corey will put up the video for you on left-hand turns. Have a look at that for best practices for defensive driving, executing a left-hand turn. Why driving is so complicated. In the 2016, I think it was very early on when I started the online YouTube channel and the business. I had a company approach me and they were asking me to come on board. They were going to retrofit every vehicle back to 2013 to make it a self-driving car. And I had a conversation with them, had a meeting, I talked to them about it. And a couple of weeks I was like, no, this is never going to work. And the reason that it will never work is owing to the fact that you can take any section of roadway, think of a section of roadway, take a quarter-mile stretch of that roadway. Any given time, if you take a snapshot of that roadway, the vehicles on that roadway and the drivers, every second of the day are going to be different. And this is the reason why self-driving cars kind of fell off the edge of marketing, because they can't figure out how to get AI to do that yet. Self-driving cars. Yes, it's there and it's at a very high level, but it only takes AI to crash once or twice before people don't trust it anymore. Coming back to road rage, this is why it is so difficult and such a complicated task for drivers on the roadway, because of this ever-changing mix of drivers and vehicles that are on the roadway. It is always different. And we come back to the average driver crashes 3 or 4 times in their driving career, once every 15 to 17 years. It's the same idea and the same principle that you can drive along that same section of roadway 100 times and nothing will ever happen. And then one time you go across there and the mix of vehicles is such that it becomes treacherous. Somebody pulls out in front of you, a pedestrian runs out across the street, and you're like, oh my God, what is going on? Everybody's losing their mind. And the next thing you know, that your level of emotion is ramping up, because driving is emotional. So these are the 6 conditions of driving that are always changing and always making driving interesting and making it even more important that you create driving habits that will keep you safe. And the example that I use is I have a back alley out the back of my place. I back into that alley, 3 or 4 times a day every week. 3 times out of 100, every now and again, there's somebody in the alleyway that I have to give way to before I back out into the alley. It's the same thing with these ever-changing factors about driving. And this is why people get emotional when they're driving, because they think that nothing goofy is ever going to happen. And then when something goofy does happen when they're driving, they lose their mind. Instead of saying to themselves, oh, wait a minute, it's not a matter of when somebody's going to do something dumb. And then when it does happen, they just say to themselves, oh, well, that happened. And they let off the accelerator, slow down a little bit, and let them go and have their crash somewhere else. This is what you need to do in terms of having calm awareness when you're driving. Angry drivers, why are people angry? I had this poll up on the YouTube channel some couple of years ago, and most people get upset by tailgaters. Over half of drivers are upset by tailgaters on the roadway. This is what incites anger and frustration the most with people who are driving on the roadways. And we'll talk about tips and strategies and skills that you can put in place that will reduce anxiety, reduce emotion when people are tailgating you, and how to let them go and have their crash somewhere else. So minor incidents of road rage: horn honking, hand gestures, flashing lights, yelling, idle threats, saying something bad about your mother. These are all minor incidents, and they don't really eventuate, or they don't materialize into anything more than just some yelling, some horn honking, telling you you're number one, and saying something bad about your mother. That's it. Okay? Major incidents of road rage: using vehicles as weapons, following you home. There was an article in one of the newspapers in Michigan a couple of years ago where somebody had failed to zipper merge correctly in the opinion of the other person. And I would say, as a professional driving educator, that 97% of people have no idea how to zipper merge. They have no idea what it is. So somebody getting upset about another person who's not zipper merging, and then they follow them around for 20 miles. So this is another major incident of road rage. Brake checking at high speeds, and this is incredibly dangerous. Following somebody speeding down the interstate, and then the one driver does something that is a slight against the other driver. The driver will pass, get in front of them, and then they'll slam on the brakes and block their path of travel. Really, really dangerous. And then, of course, physical violence. And there's a book that I read while I was doing my dissertation. It was called Criminal on the Road, and it was about recidivists, people that break the law again and again and again when they're driving. And they interviewed this one gentleman who had finally ended up in jail because of assault. And they were interviewing him for this book, and he said, when people flip me off when I'm driving, he says, I chase them down, I force them off the road, I drag them out of the car, and I beat them senseless. There are people out there that this will happen, and this is the problem with road rage. And if you lose your cool while you're driving and you start to tailgate other people, you start to crowd them, you start following them around and feeling that you need to be justified in what you're doing, you have no idea who the other person is that's going to come out of the vehicle. Keep that in mind if this is happening, and try and pull yourself back so that you're thinking, going, whoa, wait a minute, I need to check myself before I wreck myself, kind of thing, right? All right, if it happens and somebody forces you off the road and you're stopped, as Tommy said, do not engage. If somebody is in that 4-year-old and 27 lizards angry state, they can only stay that way for a minute or two at the most. Don't video them. Don't get out of your car. Don't engage. Don't talk to them. Don't look at them. Okay, simply lock your doors and wait for them to retreat. Because if there isn't any input, It will happen quickly. And I had an incident when I was in Australia. Somebody went between me and a tram on a very narrow road, and I reached out and I banged the side of their car as they were going past, telling you how close they were, like within, 12 inches of my bicycle. They pulled over in the car. I took my bicycle, I put it up against the lamppost and on the sidewalk, kind of on the edge of the road, on the top of the curb. And they stood there and beaked off at me and said they were going to punch me and threaten me and physical violence. And I didn't say anything. I just nodded my head. I didn't look at them either. I didn't make eye contact with them. And it was about a minute. After a minute, they just got back in the car and left without anything happening. As long as there isn't any input, nothing's going to happen, okay? So don't take pictures, don't talk to the person, don't roll down your windows, don't unlock your doors, don't engage. And as was mentioned here, elevator fan, I think it was, or Paul, I can't remember, said, drive to a police station if you're in a city, if you're in a rural area or someplace, try to go to someplace that has other people around, a restaurant, a diner, or, a coffee shop, or those types of things where there's other people around, right? To try and de-escalate the situation. Let them have their crash somewhere else. The person who cuts you off may not even know. This is the other thing that you can think about, okay? If somebody cuts you off and you start to feel your anger materialize, then just say to yourself, okay, wait a minute, they didn't cut me off on purpose. They made a mistake. This is what's going to happen. And this put in place best practices, because we're going to make mistakes when we're driving. You cannot drive for any length of time and not make mistakes. We get distracted, we get tired, we're thinking about something else, we're under stress. We make mistakes when we're driving. I make mistakes when I'm driving, even though I have tons and heaps of experience. But I have driving habits in place that I will not compromise, I will not jeopardize, because I know that these driving habits are going to protect me when I'm tired, when I'm making mistakes, and when I'm distracted or thinking about something else. 2 to 3 second following distance, stopping back in traffic 1 vehicle length, mapping intersections, tracking road users, shoulder checking, which leads into always be scanning when you're driving, interpreting traffic patterns, and predicting the actions of individual road users. You put these habits in place, you are going to be a significantly safer driver. Paying attention to your own driving, and as I mentioned previously, if you get into a road rage incident with somebody on the roadway, you have no idea who that person is coming out of the other vehicle. Keep that in mind and do not engage, do not ratchet up the road rage incidents that you are involved in, because you have the power to be able to de-escalate and to move on with your life and carry on safely. And as I was talking about previously, as I mentioned, I wanted to talk about tailgating, because tailgating, as we saw in the survey there, this is the number one reason that people get upset and people get angry when they're driving, because other people are tailgating them. So what skills, techniques, and habits can you put in place when you notice that somebody else is tailgating you when you're driving? First and foremost, if you're on a multi-lane road and you're in the left lane and somebody is tailgating you, they're telling you that you're going too slow. When it's safe, move back over to the right-hand lane. That's the first thing you can do. Increase following distance in front. So if you have a 2-second following distance, increase that 3 to 4 seconds. That way you can make turns and slow down gradually, because you're now driving your vehicle and you're driving the vehicle for the other goofy person behind you that's tailgating you. If there's any place safe that you could pull off the roadway and let them pass, do that. Just let them go and have their crash somewhere else if they're tailgating you, because what they're communicating to you when they're tailgating you and they're right on your back bumper, they're telling you that you're in my way, you're going too slow, and you need to hurry up and get out of my way. That's what they're telling you. So if you can get out of their way safely, don't pull over on the side of an interstate, for example, okay? That's not safe at all. If you're in the city and you can pull into a parking lot somewhere and let them go by and then go back out on the highway or the city road, then that's fine, okay? That's safe. Slow down, keep that space and increase that following distance in front. That will help you to reduce and slow down, to de-escalate them being angry behind you. Is just let them go and have their crash somewhere else, okay? And the other thing is know, again, as I said in the presentation, if somebody cuts you off or somebody does something goofy on the roadway where you have to take evasive action, say to yourself, okay, oh, that happened. Go and have your crash somewhere else, because it's not a matter of if it's going to happen. It's a matter of when it's going to happen. It is going to happen. Other people are going to do goofy things when you're driving. Best practices for defensive driving. You can watch all the videos here on the channel. 2 to 3 second following distance, stopping back in traffic 1 vehicle length, mapping intersections, tracking road users, shoulder checking, which leads into ABS, always be scanning, interpreting traffic patterns, and interpreting and predicting the actions of individual road users, and then you can respond accordingly, because if you have that space buys you time buys you options prevent crashes, and options prevent road rage incidents and will keep you safe on the roadway. 7X, the lady cussed me out a while back and told me about the parts that made me up and flipped me off. Sometimes I don't want to be around a steering wheel. 7X, that's a minor incident. I mean, you got off lucky. They didn't say anything bad about your mom. That often happens. So anytime that it's just cussing and swearing, that's a good day. As long as they're not using a weapon, they're not using their vehicle as a weapon, and you can walk away from it unscathed, you're going to be just fine. Stay safe out there, maintain your distance. Defensive driving is going to reduce road rage incidents and keep you safe on the roadways. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Yeah, I think I said that right. I've been mucking up my tagline of late. All the best. Have a great night. Bye.